Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take source material that you've shared with us and really pull out the most interesting insights.
That's right. And today we're looking at Kate Chopin's short story, Desiree's Baby, a really powerful piece.
It really is. So the basic setup, for anyone maybe not familiar, we have Desiree, who was found as a child, basically abandoned,
Yeah.
at the Valmonde plantation.
And she grows up there, loved, and eventually marries Armand Aubigny. He's the master of Labrie, the plantation next door, a big, prominent family.
They fall in love, get married, have a child, and at first everything seems, well, almost perfect, like a fairy tale in that Louisiana setting.
Yeah, Chopin paints this picture of, idyllic romance, but even early on, there are these little hints that things aren't quite right.
Definitely. Like Madame Valmonde visiting Desiree and the baby.
Yeah.
She remembers finding Desiree years ago. It feels sweet, but then you get Monsieur Valmonde's concerns.
Exactly. He's the practical one. He points out, look, we don't know anything about this girl's family, her origins.
Which seems like a reasonable thing to consider back then.
You'd think so. But Armand, he just brushes it off completely. The story mentions the Aubigny's fall in love fast, like being struck by a pistol shot.
Huh. Yeah, quite the image.
So he's completely swept away. He says her name, her background, none of that matters. He'll give her his name, one of the oldest and proudest in Louisiana.
On the surface, it sounds incredibly romantic, doesn't it? But maybe also a bit controlling, like he's erasing her past.
Well, it certainly shows a kind of patriarchal power, right? His desire just
Right.
overrides any practical worries. It's not just passion, it's him imposing his will, maybe.
That's a good point. It's a love that doesn't really engage with who she is beyond what he sees in that moment.
Precisely. And then after the baby arrives, the whole mood starts to change. Slowly at first, but then it builds into this sense of dread.
Right, and that leads to the core conflict, the big revelation that just shatters everything.
Yeah. So our mission today really is to unpack Desiree's Baby. Look at how Chopin explores these complex ideas of identity, race, social pressure. It's all packed into this short narrative.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning then. Desiree's arrival, how she's found.
Yeah, the story starts with Madame Valmande remembering finding her. Desiree wasn't an infant, but a toddler, asleep near this big stone pillar at the gate of Valmande.
That image of the stone pillar, it keeps coming back, doesn't it?
It does, it's significant. And right away, there's mystery. Where did she come from? Nobody knows.
There's some speculation, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she just wandered off from somewhere.
Yeah.
Or that she was left by, who was it, Texans.
Yeah, the idea of a passing wagon train of Texans seems to be the most accepted theory, but it's just that, a theory. It immediately marks her as an outsider, someone without a known place in their very structured society.
Even though Madame Valmonde takes her in, loves her as her own.
Absolutely. Madame Valmande sees her as a gift from God, sent by a beneficent providence. Desiree grows up beautiful, gentle, loved. She has this idyllic childhood, really.
Which just makes what happens later feel even more tragic. This beloved child undone by, well, by things she couldn't possibly control.
Exactly. The fact that she was found, that her origins are a blank slate, becomes crucially important. And like you said, that stone pillar.
Armand sees her there years later when he falls for her.
Right. 18 years later, it's like her connection to that place of mystery is cemented. It's not just where she was found. It represents the ambiguity that ultimately defines her fate in Armand's eyes.
So that's swift romance then. He sees her by the pillar.
And bam, Aubigny-style love strikes again. That pistol shot intensity.
It's presented as this overwhelming force, almost beyond his control.
And it fits the family pattern, apparently. Passion first, questions later, or never.
Which is why he ignores Monsieur Valmonde's worries about her background.
Totally. He's like, what does a name matter? He can give her his name, the Aubigny name.
Again, sounds generous, but it's also him sort of asserting his status over her lack of one.
I think so. It's less about accepting her as she is, unknown past and all, and more about absorbing her into his world under his name. He's covering over the gap with his own prestige.
And then he orders the corbeille from Paris, the wedding gifts.
Yes, the traditional fancy basket of gifts. It symbolizes him setting her up in this new life, this Aubigny life. But the foundation, that unknown past, it's still there, just ignored, unacknowledged.
Okay, let's shift to the setting. L'Aubry, Armand's plantation. Madame Valmont doesn't seem to like him.
She has this visceral reaction. The story says she shuddered at the first sight of it. That's strong.
It is. Why, though? What's Lobry like?
Well, Chopin describes it as kind of dark and imposing. It hasn't had a mistress for a long time. Old Monsieur Aubigny's wife stayed in France. The house has this steep, dark roof, almost like a monk's cowl.
Ooh, evocative.
Yeah, and it's overshadowed by these huge, solemn oak trees. It gives off this rather gloomy, maybe even oppressive vibe. Very different from Valmont, you imagine.
So the setting itself hints at something darker.
Definitely. Chopin uses it to reflect the rigid social structures, the potential for darkness beneath the surface of their lives. It's not just a house, it's symbolic.
And what about the people living there? The enslaved people?
That's another key detail. Under young Armand, they've apparently forgotten how to be gay, unlike during his father's more easygoing time.
So Armand's a strict master, even before the main drama unfolds.
Exactly. It establishes his character inflexible, controlling. That's important context for how he reacts later.
Okay, so the baby arrives, and for a moment, things seem better.
Yes, initially. Desiree takes a while to recover, but when Madame Valmont visits about 4 weeks later, her first reaction to the baby is, this is not the baby.
Which is startling, to say the least.
Right. It implies the baby looks quite different than maybe she expected, or different than when it was first born, but Desiree is just beaming with pride.
She doesn't pick up on the implication at all.
Not consciously, no. She's just happy, talking about how he's grown, his little fingernails. She's completely wrapped up in her baby.
And she notices a change in Armand, too, right? He seems happier.
Yes, she's thrilled, because Armand has apparently softened. He hasn't been punishing the slaves, not even one guy, Négrillon, who was clearly faking an injury.
She sees this as proof of his love and happiness because of the baby.
Exactly. But then she says that line, "Oh, Mama, I'm so happy, it frightens me."
Ah, yes. That little bit of foreshadowing. Like, she senses deep down that this happiness is maybe too good to be true.
Precisely. It's like an unconscious awareness that Armand's harshness might just be temporarily masked, not gone. And, well, her fear turns out to be justified.
Because things do start to shift.
Around 3 months, right?
Yeah, Desiree starts feeling this unease, this something in the air menacing her peace. It's subtle at first.
How does it manifest?
Well, she notices a change in how the slaves act around her, maybe, and neighbors start visiting more often than usual, perhaps out of a sort of morbid curiosity.
Whispers and glances. She feels it even if she doesn't understand it yet.
Exactly. And then the change in Armand becomes undeniable and really disturbing. How so?
He stops looking her in the eye. He starts spending a lot of time away from the house. He avoids her and the baby. That love light she saw in his eyes before, gone.
Chilling.
And his treatment of the enslaved people reverts back. He becomes harsh again, cruel even, like flicking a switch.
And Desiree has no idea why at this point.
Not yet. But his behavior is clearly tied to his growing suspicion about the baby's appearance, its racial identity. His internal turmoil is coming out as external cruelty.
Which brings us to that absolutely devastating scene, the revelation.
Oh, it's incredibly powerful. Desiree's in her room, it's afternoon, and one of the quadroon boys, a child of mixed race, is fanning the baby.
And she looks.
She looks from her baby to the boy fanning him, and back again. And suddenly she sees it, the resemblance.
The realization must have been horrifying.
Chopin writes that she felt her blood turn to ice. She lets out this involuntary cry. It's pure shock. She tries to speak to the boy, but he just leaves silently. She's completely alone with this awful discovery.
And then Armand comes in.
Yeah, he comes in, and at first he doesn't even notice her distress. She grabs his arm, desperate, points to the baby, asks him what it means.
And his response.
It's brutal, just cold and dismissive. It means, he says, that the child is not white. It means that you are not white.
Ugh. The cruelty is just breathtaking. The casual way he delivers that sentence.
It carries the weight of her entire world collapsing. And her reaction is instant denial. She frantically compares herself to him, her skin, her hair, her eyes, trying to prove her whiteness.
She even compares herself to LaBlanche, one of the mixed-race slaves. It shows how deeply ingrained that hierarchy is. Her whole identity is suddenly under attack, based purely on appearance.
Absolutely. And then she writes that desperate letter to Madame Valmont.
Tell me I am not white. For God's sake, tell them it is not true. Just heartbreaking. She's reaching for that lifeline for her mother to confirm her identity.
And Madame Valmont's reply. It's so short, but it says everything, doesn't it?
It really does. Come home to Valmont. Back to your mother who loves you. Come with your child.
No denial. No attempt to refute Armand's claim, just an offer of love and escape. The silence on the central question is confirmation enough in that context.
So Desiree shows Armand the letter, hoping for
What?
compassion, reconsideration,
Maybe, but she's described as being like a stone image when she does it, echoing that pillar where she was found, perhaps, like she's lost all agency.
and Armand.
Cold, silent. He doesn't offer a word of comfort. His thoughts, which Chopin reveals, are all about himself. How he's been wronged, how his name has been injured by her.
Unbelievable self-pity. Any love he felt is just gone, completely replaced by this sense of wounded pride fueled by racism.
Totally. And Desiree just leaves, wordlessly. She takes the baby and walks out.
Into the bayou. The description there is so haunting. Her thin white clothes walking into the deserted fields as the sun sets.
The image of her disappearing into the landscape, her delicate slippers getting torn. It's like she's being erased, absorbed by nature because human society has utterly rejected her.
And she's never seen again.
Never seen again. It's a tragic, quiet exit.
Which leads to that final scene. Weeks later, the bonfire.
Yeah. Armand is burning everything. All of Desiree's things, the baby's cradle, the layette, even her letters to him, a complete purge.
Trying to wipe them from existence, from memory.
It's a violent act of denial, but then, amidst the things he's burning, he finds something else. An old letter.
Not one of Desiree's.
No. A letter from his own mother to his father, tucked away with Desiree's letters.
And the contents?
The ultimate irony, the devastating twist, the letter reveals that Armand's mother, the beloved mother he cherished, belonged to the race that is cursed with the brand of slavery.
Oh my God. So Armand himself.
Armand himself carries the heritage he found so repulsive in Desiree and his own child. His entire sense of identity, his pride, his cruelty, all based on a foundation of ignorance about his own family.
It's not just a twist ending. It's Chopin fundamentally undermining the whole basis of that racial hierarchy he represents. It shows how arbitrary and hypocritical it all is.
Absolutely. The very prejudice he used to destroy Desiree exists within his own bloodline. It's a stunning indictment.
Wow. So, wrapping up this deep dive into Desiree's baby, it leaves you with such a sense of waste, of tragedy.
Completely. It's a stark look at how prejudice, that deeply embedded racial bias, can just obliterate love, compassion, families.
And it really hits home how fragile identity can be, especially when it's tied to these external societal labels like race. Desiree's entire life is defined and then destroyed by something she didn't even know about herself.
And the role of secrets, of assumptions. Armand assumes Desiree is the one with the tainted heritage because of her unknown past. That assumption, driven by the racism of his time, leads directly to the tragedy. And he remains ignorant of his own secret history until the very end.
The irony is just crushing. His actions, his condemnation, all reflecting back on his own hidden truth.
It really exposes the hypocrisy. He enforced a system that, by its own cruel logic, condemned him too.
It makes you think about how these biases operate, doesn't it? Even unconsciously.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for you, the listener. How do these societal biases, the ones that are maybe unspoken or even unconscious, still shape lives today, our relationships?
Yeah, what assumptions do we carry around without even realizing it? And what kinds of hidden histories in ourselves or others might those assumptions be obscuring?
It's a heavy question, but one that Desiree's baby forces us to confront, even all these years later.
A really powerful story. Thanks for unpacking that with us.
My pleasure. It's always worth revisiting.